here with you all today. And we have the benefit of having many of you know us, but for those of you who don't, I'm Natalie Benamou. I am the founder and creator of Her C-Suite. And it is such an honor to have Lisa Michelle Smith here today. I can't wait for you to hear all the things. But before we get started, because we are going to be introducing all of the things that we do for people that don't know about us, and most of you do, but for those of you that don't know about Her C-Suite, everything we do is designed to help women advance and engage in every phase of their career. And we work with individuals as well as companies. So some of you are our corporate partners, and you know how we work in terms of our mentorship programs and things that we do, leadership programs, as well as individuals. And this is a big week. So we have this program today, which we're so excited about, but we also launched Women on Boards today, and we did our DEI Council for the first time. So super exciting programs that we have going on in Her C-Suite. And I'm going to share a little personal story about how members are connecting and why the community is so valuable. So Hope Mueller is a founding member. We started with only 11 people, if you can imagine, Her C-Suite 2 years ago. And she's one of our founding members. Jen Pastikas, you may know her from Brave Women at Work. She has an amazing podcast. I highly recommend it. She came in as a member of Her C-Suite, and we made the introduction. We knew that Jen was looking to make a connection and thought on her bucket list was to write a book. Who has that on your bucket list? I have it still, but I haven't started. And so we made that connection. We made the introduction to Jen and Hope, and last month they hit 6 #1 categories for bestseller. So that happened through the power of our community. And we believe that every woman should feel valued and you matter. And we make those kinds of connections for you. So I wanted to share that little story with you before we get started, which we are going to now. I am really excited to introduce you to Lisa Michelle Smith. I had the chance to first meet her in Innovation Women, which was our first chance to connect through Bobby Carlton, and we got a chance to meet that way. And then she was a guest on Her C-Suite Radio, our podcast, and I listened and I thought, oh my gosh, we have to do a program. And here we are today. So I'm so honored that she's here with us today. I know you're going to get so much out of this conversation. Lisa Michelle Smith is an award-winning resilience trainer and PQ coach. And she's going to talk about the difference. I know I didn't know what the difference was between positive intelligence and emotional intelligence. I can't wait for you to hear all about it. She's the founder of Daring Feminine Leadership, and she's got a community. She's a resilience expert, high performance trainer. She's a hypnotherapist, speaker, author, and she is serving executive level female leaders and their teams. I am so happy to welcome you today. Thank you, Lisa, for being here. Thank you.
I am so excited to be here with you, Natalie, and with your community. And it's been such a great treat meeting you and connecting and doing the podcast was awesome. But I love everything that you're up to and the ways that you're serving female leaders. So I really applaud you for that. And I'm really interested in hearing about that DEI council that you just started up. And I definitely want to connect with Jen Pastikas, because she also is in the resilience space. So I'd love to have a conversation with her. Definitely need to connect. So thank you for having me here today and allowing me to share about this really exciting work that I've more recently gotten into. I've been doing personal development training, peak performance coaching for 26 years, but the positive intelligence work is fairly new to me. I got into it maybe about 5 years ago after I heard the author of the book, Positive Intelligence, Why Only 20% of Teams and Individuals Achieve Their True Potential and How You Can Achieve Yours. After I heard him speak, I just was totally enthralled, and it was just like so in my wheelhouse. So I read the book, started incorporating some of the principles for myself and with my clients, and then had the opportunity in 2020 when he started training coaches in in the work to get the training and the certification and apply it even more in my life. And it's just been really a game changer for me. So I'm like on a soapbox about it, and I want to share it with the entire world, is because the impacts of it can really be so profound in all areas of your life or work. So let's kind of just dive in. Got a lot to go through, but again, I want to be interactive. So at any times you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. So I want to start off with having you kind of think about a recent situations, and it can be helpful to close your eyes to really pull this experience in. But I want you to think about a recent time where you had some kind of challenge, setback, or conflict. And when you pull that experience up, just begin to recall how you responded to it. Did you respond with negativity? Did you feel like a victim? Did you feel resentful about it? Angry, frustrated? What emotions did you experience as a result of that setback, challenge, conflict, disappointment? And if you notice negative emotions as a response, how long did you stay stuck in those emotions? And what kind of responses did you have to that experience? Are you happy with the responses that you had, or do you have some regrets about it? Did any of the responses lead to something that you didn't intend or didn't want? Did it make it worse? And how long did you stay stuck in those negative emotions before you rebounded, pulled yourself out of it, and continued to move forward, or made something useful out of the experience? And as you're reflecting back on that and the negative emotions, the negative connotations you put to that experience, to the how long you stayed in that, ask yourself what it would have been like if instead you rebounded much more quickly and you were able to find something beneficial out of the seemingly negative experience and learned from it, or took some action that actually led to something fruitful, or some kind of gift that you got out of it. What would it be like if you were able to rebound from life's setbacks and challenges without that middle part of the negative emotions and the resistance and the making things worse? And you could learn to do that much more quickly and much more easily in your life, no matter what comes up. Think about what kinds of things could change and improve in your life if you were able to be more resilient and bounce back easier and faster. All right, so come back to me now if you had your eyes closed and you were thinking about that. So that's what we're talking about here, which is mental fitness. Mental fitness is your capacity to respond to those challenges, setbacks, disappointments, and conflicts with a more positive and helpful mindset and action, rather than a negative or sabotaging mindset and action. The impact of being able to do this and increasing your mental fitness is multi-pronged. So you can experience greater peace of mind and wellness, greater well-being and health, healthier relationships, not only your personal relationships, but also your work relationships. You can achieve more of your true potential when you're not blocking yourself. You can become a better leader, and you can be more resilient and adaptable to life's setbacks, uncertainties, and challenges. So I have a question for you. Which of these things would you like to make improvements in? If you could have this kind of impact by improving your mental fitness, which of these areas would you want to improve? So we have a quick little poll for you. So I want to just kind of get people's feedback here. So if you can put up that poll, right? So which of these areas would you most like to improve? Greater peace of mind and wellness, healthier relationships, achieving more of your true potential, becoming a better leader, resilience and adaptability, or all of these. All right, so we got the answers coming in now. It's great. All right, so it looks like it's skewing to all of them. Yeah, all these important areas of our life, right? And then second place, we have achieving more of your true potential, greater peace of mind. So this is interesting. Becoming a better leader, we don't have any votes for that, even though we're in her C-suite and you're leaders, right? And, and that doesn't just have to do with at work, right? You're a leader of perhaps your family, right? Maybe you're a leader in some organizations that you belong to, some boards you're on, etc. But the good news is that you don't have to pick, because improving your mental fitness will naturally impact all these different areas, even if you're not particularly focusing on them. So great. If we can, I'll go ahead and close that poll out now. And see if we can. All right. So here's some measurable return of investment of doing the PQ mental fitness training. Positive intelligence training enabled these self-reported results in as little as 8 weeks. And this is categorized by many different people who have taken the training, and they do this poll with. And these are the areas that we ask about. So you can see the huge percentage of increase in all these different areas: increased happiness, stress management, self-confidence, managing conflict, improved empathy, and the ability to develop others, as well as having more collaboration. And I have a little quote in here from Jessica Heron, who is the CEO of Stella and Dot, and her experience with the training and how she saw also it impacting her team. So the Research Foundation shows that positive intelligence is a combination of positive psychology, cognitive psychology, neuroscience, and performance science. So it's all these different elements wrapped up into positive intelligence. And the great thing is that we noticed that positive intelligence training naturally increased people's EQ as well. It touches upon all those like 13 or 16 characteristics of EQ. EQ naturally raises as a result of doing PQ, but is a much simpler system. So the research comes from over 500,000 participants across 50 countries, hundreds of CEOs, executive teams, Stanford students, world-class athletes, different clubs, organizations, nonprofits, and even working with couples and families. So you can see it's really widely applicable. And it comes from the work of Shirzad Chamine in his best-selling book, Positive Intelligence, which has now been translated into 20 languages. And at the root of all mental fitness, we found that there are really just 3 things that we need to focus on, 3 core muscles that we teach people how to build up. And we relate building mental fitness up to how we build our physical fitness up, right? So we need to strengthen our physical fitness, and there's exercises that we need to do to create that end result, and that we do over time. And the same thing is for our mental fitness, but we only focus on these 3 core muscles, which is the saboteur interception muscle, the self-command muscle, and the sage response muscle. So I'm going to briefly go through each of these muscles and what we're talking about in terms of building them. I'm going to pause here for a moment, and I want to ask, I just want to see are we all on board with everybody? Does anybody have any questions or comments so far? Anything coming up in the chat, Megan? Okay, great. So we're talking about the saboteurs and the sage where we cover 10 saboteurs, 10 ways that we get sabotaged. And our sage has 5 powers to enable us to respond more favorably to those life's challenges and setbacks. And then we've got the self-command muscle, which is the bridge from going to saboteur mode into our sage mode. So the saboteur interception muscle, let's cover that first. The main, like I said, there's 10 saboteurs, but the main saboteur is, dun, 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 the judge. And the judge is a really cruel character. That's the main one that we're hearing in our heads so often, each and every day. The judge is judging yourself, judging others, and judging your situation as bad, wrong, or in some way not good enough. Sometimes we're more dominant in one of these judge modes. We're much more harder on ourselves than we are on others. Sometimes we're judging others more harshly than ourselves. And sometimes it's about, the situation. There's something bad or wrong about this situation. And then if the judge weren't bad enough, we've got the 9 accomplice saboteurs that are coming into play to help the judge be even more, sabotaging to ourselves. So we've got the controller, hyperachiever, restless, stickler, pleaser, hypervigilant, avoider, victim, and hyper-rational. So I'm curious if you can put in the chat, who's taken the saboteur assessment? I know the link went out ahead of time, but if you could just put in the chat a yes if you've taken the saboteur assessment, so you're already a little bit familiar with these saboteurs because you've gotten the assessment back. Megan, can you share? Is anybody putting yes there that they've already done the assessment?
Not yet.
Okay. I did see, in my tracking that a bunch of people took it on the 21st, or at least clicked on the link to take it in the 21st.
Oh yeah, Marjorie said avoider and pleaser.
Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna actually ask, right? So anybody who's done that assessment, go ahead and put in that chat. What were your top? So, because sometimes when you do the assessment, it comes out with a 0 to 10 scale for each of these 9 saboteurs. So you can see which ones are more dominantly sabotaging you. And I find that high level executives, especially females, very much dominant on the hyperachiever. Sometimes also the stickler. Mine, I have 3 that were tied for first place, which was stickler, hyperachiever, and pleaser. And they oftentimes gang up with each other or trigger other ones. And so when you get the assessment, so I highly recommend that you take the assessment. We'll put a link again at the end where you can do that. And I'll have a little offer at the end about that. When you get the assessment, it will further explain what each of these is about. But if you haven't taken the assessment yet, just reading these descriptions, you can probably get a sense of what might be your dominant one or ones. Do you tend to be more controlling, restless, always going for the next thing, never settled, always trying to achieve the next thing, people pleasing, always looking for hyper vigilant, always looking for the negative in things, or being fearful, perfectionism, which is the stickler, victim, or sorry, avoider is more like the procrastinator. Okay. So which of these do you identify with? And I can probably guess that you had some faces come to mind for some of these different categories, right? Oh, that person, their controller, or this person I know, my spouse or my boss or whatever is the stickler. But the thing to know is that we all have these saboteurs, right? Everybody has saboteurs. It's just which ones do we have that are influencing us most, and to what level are they maybe influencing us? That's what we really want to be aware of, because we can't fight an enemy we don't know about. Right. So it's best to know about it, so then you can learn to strengthen your saboteur interceptor muscle, which is about identifying when you've got the judge or one of these accomplice saboteurs in your head, influencing your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. So that just shows you the chart that you'll see when you do the assessment. Now, the saboteurs, what's wrong with the saboteurs? Because sometimes people go, oh, if I didn't have my hyperachiever saboteur, I would be lazy. Right? Or if I didn't have the stickler saboteur, that I would miss important details, and things would go wrong, etc. So the thing is that the saboteurs motivate us through negative emotions, through things like fear, stress, anger, shame, guilt, and insecurity. And it might generate initially some outward success, but the downfall is that it influences and negatively impacts our happiness. So a lot of times people have the success with their saboteurs leading, but they don't have happiness, or they have the negative boomerang effect on their relationships, or on their health and well-being, or on their impact. The reason why we want to learn to lead with our sage mind and our sage capabilities is because the sage motivates us through positive emotions: empathy, curiosity, creativity, passion, purpose, awe, wonder, understanding, forgiveness, love. And that will generate your highest success overall, really tapping into your true potential and not sacrificing your relationships, your well-being, and again, your happiness. So that's why we want to learn how to operate more from our sage mind and capabilities versus from these saboteurs. Now, the second core muscle that we teach people how to build is the self-command muscle, which I mentioned before is the bridge between being in saboteur mode and getting to sage mode, because you can't just quickly move from saboteur to sage. You've got to have the bridge that helps to move you there. And the self-command muscle is how we do that. And we build our self-command muscle on a daily basis by using these 10-second PQ reps, which are 10-second mindfulness-based exercises that we can do that are tied into all of our senses. So you can do PQ reps with your visual sense. You can do PQ reps with your auditory, your sense, things that you're hearing. You can do PQ reps with touch. You can do, or movement. You can do PQ reps even with things that you're tasting or things that you're smelling. So all of our senses. But the typical ones we tend to use are the visual, the auditory, and the kinesthetic, which is movement or touch. So I'm going to demonstrate some PQ reps for you right now. And I want you to kind of think about, tap into how you're feeling right now. And if you're stressed about something that happened before you came onto the call, if you're stressed about something that's going to be happening later today, or maybe this weekend, or something upcoming, just kind of tune in. If there's any part of you that's not feeling totally at peace, zen, focused, restful, okay, and kind of gauge that for yourself. So on a scale of 0 to 10, how zen, peaceful, focused, relaxed do you feel right now? And then I want to encourage you to just start to focus on rubbing your fingertips together on 1 or 2 hands with such attention. You tune everything else out. And sometimes it can help to close your eyes so that your visual sense is not interfering. Close your eyes and really slowly rub those fingertips together with such attention that you're noticing the temperature or the sensation of the gliding, and even seeing if you can pay attention to get the feel of your fingertip ridges. And you would do that for 10 seconds, just totally focused on rubbing your fingertips together with such awareness and no judgment at all. Just awareness, maybe appreciation or curiosity about those sensations. And you would do that for 10 seconds, and that's what we call 1 PQ rep. And then you can turn your attention to the feel of your butt in the seat if you're sitting down. And just notice all the sensations against the back of your legs and against your butt for 10 seconds. And you can turn your attention to your feet and go ahead and wiggle your toes. And just notice all 10 toes. See if you can get a sense of all 10 of your beautiful, amazing toes. And if you've had your eyes closed, just go ahead and open your eyes and just focus on one thing in front of you now, close to you or far away. Just focus on something in your environment right now that you can tune into. And for the next 10 seconds, and see if your mind starts to wander too, if you have a hard time staying focused. But just become aware of something you can look at right now. And as you're looking at it, notice all the nuances of it. Notice the shape and the size, the distance from you. Notice all the different shades of color. Notice any writing. Anything else that you can notice about that object that you're looking at right now, with a sense of curiosity, awe, wonder, no judgment at all, just awareness. And then notice the sound close to you or far away. It might be the sound of my voice, or maybe there's another sound that you can focus on in the room for 10 seconds. And just notice all the nuances of that sound, the pitch, the timbre, how close to you it sounds, how far away it sounds, if it's consistent or if it's fading. Okay, and then just bring yourself back. So we just did a couple of minutes of a string of PQ reps. So one rep is 10 seconds of focused attention on one of these senses and something in your environment that you can notice. And as we've done this couple of minutes of PQ reps, just tune back into your feeling now. And on that scale of 0 to 10, 10 being feeling totally zen, focused, peaceful, just notice if it was a lower number and now it's a higher number. Go ahead and put in the chat if you notice an increase in what we call your PQ, your feeling of positivity or, neutrality or feeling restful, relaxed. What's coming through in the chat, Megan? Anybody commenting about any shifts that they noticed by doing those PQ reps for a few minutes?
Not yet, but I feel calmer. Yep, I feel so relaxed. Another one.
Right. And, great thing is you can do PQ reps without anybody knowing you're doing PQ reps, right? So if you're in a meeting and you're feeling stressed, or you're having a conversation with somebody, or you're driving and you're in traffic and you're feeling that, you can be doing PQ reps, doing visual ones, or, having your hands in your lap and rubbing your fingers slowly together, or wiggling your toes in your shoes, or listening to the sound of the voice that you're hearing, right? Any of these things, or when you're eating, slowing down and really being present with your food. This is some of the things that we do to help people with not overeating, right? And being more mindful of what they're eating, so they're making better choices. So so many different ways that you can incorporate. You can do it in the shower. You can do it while you're brushing your teeth, noticing the foam in your mouth, noticing the tingling, noticing the feel of your hand around the brush, noticing the feel of the bristles against your teeth, noticing the feel of the water in the shower, noticing the feel of your hands around the steering wheel as you're driving. So when you're exercising, noticing, maybe you're outside and you're noticing the feel of the breeze or the warmth of the sun, or just being present in the moment helps you to pull you out of the negative dialogue going on in your head, and helps to create the bridge from the fight or flight mechanism happening in your brain to the prefrontal cortex where the sage lives, and being able to activate the powers of the sage, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment. Okay, so the self-command muscle is strengthened through doing PQ reps. It's strengthened in the moment, like doing reps in the gym, with some weights, but it's also strengthened over time. The more time you spend in the gym and doing those reps, the stronger your muscle becomes, right? So it's not just a one and done kind of thing. It has to build up over time, and you do it on a daily basis. And the great thing is that it's helping you to better handle what's happening in that moment, and it's building your muscle up over time, right? So it's helping you in the moment, but it's also helping you over time. And then it's so much easier to activate your sage mind. And the sage lives in the region of your brain associated with the positive emotions, peace and calm, clear-headed, laser-focused action, creativity and innovation, having a bigger picture viewpoint, and also collaboration, right? Cooperation. And it's all derived from this area of the brain, this prefrontal cortex behind your forehead. The sage operates from what we call the sage perspective, which I'll describe in just a moment, and uses 5 amazing powers in order to respond to life setbacks and challenges, to do it in a way that's different than the saboteurs have had you do it, that is win-win instead of win-lose. Saboteurs are always win-lose, and usually the lose is bigger than the win. The sage is all win-win. Win in the moment and win for the long term. And there's 5 powers. So the sage perspective is one of the things that we teach people to start with. For every challenge, setback, disappointment, or conflict that comes up, ask yourself, how could this be a gift or opportunity? What's the opportunity in this situation? Instead of making it bad or wrong, how can I get an opportunity out of it? Or what could be the gift within it? And there's 3 gifts that like at least one of these 3 gifts are always present in every situation if we can get ourselves into sage mind. There's some knowledge or learning that you can get from it. There's some way that you can grow from it. Or there's some way that you can have inspired action to make change for yourself or for the world. Right? Sometimes when you get really angry about something, it can create inspiration to try to make something positive out of it, or try to change laws. For example, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, right? Tragedy creating an amazing organization that's helped change laws, save lives, and help families cope and be able to better move through the experience of losing, a child because of drunk driving. Right? There's so many examples in the world of people taking adversity and making something positive out of it. So some knowledge or learning you can get, some growth or some inspiration for creating change is always a gift or an opportunity within every experience. So I want you to think about a recent problem. Let's bring this home, right? Let's make it real for you. Think of a recent problem, setback, failure, disappointment, or conflict. Maybe the one that you thought about at the very beginning as I took you through that exercise, or maybe something else. And when you've got that, think about, your immediate response to that. And here's the question: which perspective is true about that situation? It's bad, or there's a gift in it? Which perspective is true? Depends on your perspective. The great thing is that you get to decide which perspective you take. That's all up to you. Whatever meaning we choose to give to a situation is going to influence how we see it and how we respond to it. And if we put a negative lens on, we're going to see negative. We're going to activate the saboteurs, right? We're not going to have the best outcome from it. But if we put on the positive lens, if we put on the sage lens, we're looking for the gift or opportunity of knowledge, growth, or innovation, then we can create something better. Now, sometimes some things are heavier, right? We teach about sometimes your PQ muscle is not built up enough for certain situations, right? But other situations you can build it up and handle it better. But as you build your PQ muscle over time, those things that used to feel like 100-pound weights now feel like 10-pound weights for you. Whereas still a 100-pound weight for somebody else, and it takes them longer and more effort to rebound from it. But put on the different lens, like the lens of the sage perspective. And if not now, at some point, I guarantee you're going to be able to find a gift or opportunity from it. Now, the sage uses 5 powers to be able to respond more effectively to these situations. Empathy, which is about love, compassion, understanding, and forgiveness. Exploration, which is, having the child mind of curiosity, awe, wonder, openness, going a little bit deeper under the surface of the situation, exploring what's really going on under the surface instead of what seems like, the obvious. Sometimes just asking questions, digging a little bit deeper allows us to understand really more of what's motivating people to act the way that they are, or what's causing us to respond in the way that we are, that the saboteurs are taking over. And then innovation, right? Where can we create something different? Where can we brainstorm, be spontaneous and playful, and come up with new ideas? The power of navigation, which is about really tuning into what you value. How do you want to respond to this situation that's a match for what your values are, or a match for your sense of purpose or your passion? Navigation is your compass, your North Star, to guide you to your best outcomes, right? So that when you're looking back from the future on this situation, you can feel good about how you responded because it was in alignment with your values. It was in alignment with your purpose or your passion. And then activation, which is like that Jedi warrior being able to be engaged and laser focused in the midst of chaos. The chaos isn't distracting them. So taking clear-headed instead of chaotic action is what that activation power is about. And then we teach 6 power games. I'm not going to go over those, but 6 power games that help you to utilize these 5 stage powers and apply them to any situation that's going on for you. Okay. So here's how we put all of this together. So we just I just covered these 3 core muscles, what they're about, different ways that we can build them up. And I really want you to understand how simple this system is. EQ is great, but it can be very complicated. And to put it into practice every day and to build up those qualities can be really challenging. The simplicity of the operating system, this is one of the reasons why I love it so much and why people learn it so quickly and easily and really are applying it. I mean, we teach this to children. Children are learning this and applying it in their lives. So the first step is, if you're ever feeling negative emotions, stop. Stop yourself in that moment and recognize you are in saboteur mode. Negative emotions are always a sign you are in saboteur mode. Okay. And if you notice any kind of judgy thoughts about yourself or others or about the situation, you're in saboteur mode. You're not going in the right direction. You're not going to have the best response. So stop as soon as you notice negative emotions. The second step is to do some PQ reps to quiet the saboteurs and activate the sage mind. Like I said, the PQ reps, very simple, 10 seconds at a time. With anything and everything that's in your environment, you can do PQ reps. No matter where you are and what's happening, you can do PQ reps. Right? So stop when you notice that negative internal dialogue. Stop when you notice the negative emotions. Do PQ reps and create the bridge out of the hindbrain, the fight or flight center and the saboteurs, and into the forebrain and into the sage capabilities and powers. First thing to do after you've done that, the PQ reps, is say, where is there a possible gift or opportunity in this situation, right? What can I learn from this? What knowledge am I gaining from this that I didn't have before that's going to be helpful in the future? How can I grow from this? How can I use my sage powers and allow me to grow my mental fitness through this situation? If you look back on the challenging situations of your life, guarantee you'll see how it created growth within you. Just like the butterfly trying to get out of its cocoon, flapping its wings. It looks like the butterfly is suffering, right? But if you break open that cocoon, you take away the struggle from the butterfly that's allowing the wings to strengthen. So when the cocoon breaks open, the butterfly is able to fly, right? We need those challenges in order for us to strengthen and to grow. So take on that sage perspective. Where's the opportunity in this? How can I create an opportunity? Or where can I find some kind of gift? Or sometimes it's even just trusting that at some point you will look back and be able to see how this benefited you. And then identify that gift or opportunity using the sage powers? How can you be empathetic with yourself, or how can you be empathetic with other people, and build that empathy muscle? How can you build a sense of curiosity, awe, or wonder? How can you become creative to solve the situation, and come up with new ways to do that again in the future? Where's this helping you to drive home your purpose, or how to recognize what's valuable to you, and when you're in a situation that's conflicting with your values and it's time to get out of it or change it? Or how can you stop the chaos and the negative emotions and just get into action to move through it and past it and onto the other side? Okay. So another question for you. Oftentimes people ask, is it really possible to just shift in a big challenging experience from the saboteurs into the sage response? Oftentimes people come up with examples that say, well, I can't do it in this situation. I can't do it in this situation, or this situation couldn't possibly have some gift or opportunity. And I have to act this way, or I have to be a stickler in this situation, or whatever. But the truth is, you can do that, but the speed and ease at which you do that depends on your mental muscle strength. Like I was talking about before, some things you've built up mental muscle that to deal with, and it feels like a 10-pound weight for you. Oh, this isn't a problem. Or maybe it's a 20 or 50-pound weight. It's a little bit of an effort or struggle, but you get through it a little bit more quickly and easily than something that's like a 100-pound weight for you, because you haven't built your mental muscle up to that 100-pound kind of weight experience, right? So the speed and ease at which you shift really depends on the mental muscle strength that you have, and you've got to build that up over time. It requires intense initial practice to be able to build up your mental muscles. And some of you are a little bit more ahead of the game than other people, based on your experiences in life, based on your learning, based on the resources that you've gained in your life to be more resilient, to respond to things much more effectively and favorably. Some people didn't get those kinds of skills and resources early on, and they need to learn them now and to build them up. So if you think about it, you can't defeat a gang of 10 bandits by sending in one new fighter per day for 100 days, right? It's going to take a lot more than that. But the great thing is, with the positive intelligence training, it only takes 15 minutes a day using the tools, doing 15 minutes of PQ reps throughout the day, of like 2 to 3 minutes at a time. So that's one of the things that we teach, and that there's actually an app in the program where it like has these guided PQ reps to help you, and you're learning how to do them on your own as well, so that no matter what's happening during the day, you're using those conflicts, setbacks, and challenges to actually build your PQ muscles. And as little as 15 minutes a day of doing PQ reps for 6 to 8 weeks produces some of those results that I shared with you at the very beginning. And then once you've done that 6 to 8 weeks of intense initial practice to build up your mental muscle, to learn about these tools and to start to integrate them and use them in your life with real life situations that are occurring, then after that, it just takes a little bit of maintenance, right? So after you've gone to the gym and you've worked intensely to build up your muscles, it doesn't take as much of that intensity just to maintain the muscles that you've gained. So the maintenance that people have after they've learned how to build up their PQ, and they've done that, is just 15 minutes throughout the day as needed, or whenever certain things are like, whenever you're thinking about doing PQ reps, like you're just sitting in your car, or you're in a line waiting or whatever. Even if you're not feeling negative emotions, just do some PQ reps to get present in the moment, right? So it's just that maintenance a little bit. If you really think about it, 15 minutes a day is not a whole lot of time, but it does need to be broken up throughout the day, right? So versus just trying to do all 15 minutes in one shot. So the Positive Intelligence Mental Fitness Training Program, I'm not going to really cover this too much, but it's an 8-week course. Well, at least I presented in an 8-week course. There's virtual lessons that you have access to. And then there's coaching and Q&A for those lessons. Like I mentioned, there's an app, love my app, to give you lessons each day, applying what you're learning, 3 application challenges. So ways to use that lesson in 2 to 3 minutes at a time throughout your day, giving you guided PQ reps. They have a gym that you can tap into to help get guided PQ reps versus doing them on your own. And it's great because there's tracking, you get points for the different things that you do, and you can see in a chart your PQ muscle building up over time. So love to see my chart going up, and sometimes where my chart is evening out and I'm like, oh, I need to, get into doing my PQ reps a little bit more. And there's community support and a chat, et cetera, that you can take advantage of. And usually we bring people through the training in like 3 to 6 people in pods. Sometimes it's, individuals that don't know each other coming together. Sometimes group members come together and do the program, or teams, couples. I just finished a pod with two couples going through the training to improve their relationships. And family members often go through it. So, like parents and their children going through it. And then sometimes you go through it individually, but it is a much better experience if you can't go through it in groups. So I just want to ask you, what would it be like, right? If that experience that you thought about at the very beginning, that you responded to in a way that you weren't happy with, what would it be like if you had built up your mental muscle and that you could much more quickly bounce back and even gain benefits from every future setback, challenge, disappointment, conflict, failure, or what you see initially as a failure? What would your life be like? And how would those areas where you wanted to improve really improve? So I have a challenge and a gift for you, but before I go into that, Megan, do you have are there any things in the chat? I'll go into a Q&A in just a moment, but I just want to pause here to see if there's anything in the chat that people have put that I want to address.
Yeah, there was a couple of questions. One was from Mylene. It said, a random question: has the need for calming mindfulness come from the steep drop in our attention spans? Curious about how technology, instant gratification culture, etc., have contributed to this. Is there research out there?
Oh, yes, absolutely. What a great question. Yeah, there's a lot of research out there about, our attention deficits and technology and how that's playing into that. We're constantly like distracted. We're not allowing ourselves to really be present within ourselves, and constantly when we're experiencing negative emotions, we go to devices as distraction. So there's a lot of things that we can turn to for distraction to numb ourselves or to pull ourselves, into something different instead of the negative emotions we're experiencing or the thoughts. And, devices and technology have become one of those types of things that we tend to turn to. So for some people it's food, for some people it's alcohol or cigarettes or shopping, gambling. And now there's so much about our devices, and we're not really being present in our moments with ourselves or with the people that we're with. I mean, how many times do you see people with or around each other at dinner or, at events, and they're not talking to each other. They're not engaged. They're on their devices. They're looking down. Or parents are there and their children are out on the playground, but they're on their devices and they're not like engaging with their children. So yeah, absolutely, it's all those things are pulling us away from being present, being aware, being introspective about what's really going on for us, instead of trying to move away from the discomfort. Sometimes we need to move into it, drop down, but just for a few seconds. That's one of the things we teach in positive intelligence. It's like putting your hand on a hot stove. Negative emotions can be beneficial, but it's how long we stay there. How long do we keep our hand on the hot stove before we remove it, right? We don't want to keep it there too long, or we're gonna injure ourselves, right? But the negative emotions are there just as a quick sign to let us know we're not in stage. We're not in our best self in that moment. There's something that we need to look at and to work on changing or utilizing for our benefit. So hopefully that answers your question. That was a great question. So even though you're using the device, you know, in the app, it's using it for a good purpose to get into yourself, be introspective, get into the present moment, and get away from, you know, all those negative distractions around you.
There's one more if you want. Sometimes when some situations arise, your fears or insecurities, how do you manage the situation to put them away and see a gift or opportunity instead of a threat?
Right. So the first thing you do that I mentioned is do PQ reps. Because when you're strong in the saboteur mind back here, you're in a conditioned response mode, you're in negativity mode, you're in the mode of finding the problems. You can't get to this area of the brain to be able to identify possible gifts or opportunities because you're too much engaged with the saboteurs. And the way to get to here and the ability to do that is to do the PQ reps. Remember, that's the bridge. So the first step to do after you recognize that you're in those negative emotions is to start to do PQ reps in some way. What that does is that actually literally flips the switches in your brain and deactivates the activity center here in the amygdala, the fight or flight center, and it starts to activate the prefrontal cortex. So we can see in MRI imaging that we're doing these mindfulness-based exercises like PQ reps, that this area of the brain starts to go dim and this area of the brain starts to get activated. And when that happens, now your brain is able to activate the sage perspective, the sage powers, the positive emotional states. So that's the first thing to do. Don't try to reason yourself through it because you're not going to be able to access the ability to do that when your saboteur brain is really strong. That's the benefit of doing the PQ reps. It starts to get you out of here and starts to move you closer to here. Anything else?
Nope, I think those are the only questions.
Okay, great questions. So you see, it's very, very simple. We overcomplicate it. Start doing PQ reps as soon as you notice you're in a negative emotional state, and it will start to create the shift that you need and want. So here's my challenge and gift to you. So I'm going to kind of wrap up so we have a little bit of time at the end for Natalie to share a little bit more about the community and ways that you can get involved in the Her C-Suite community. So my challenge and gift to you is to take the PQ score quiz and the saboteur assessment. The quiz takes about 2 to 3 minutes to do, and it will tell you what your current PQ score is. So that's your ratio of being in a positive emotional state to a negative emotional state. So it's going to give you a score, like a percentage. So it might show 27% of the time your brain is working for you in the sage mode, and 73%, I think 27%, 73%, you know, so it equals 100% of the time you're in the opposite mode, right? The negative mode. So if you're seeing that you're more 50% or higher on the negative, the saboteur mode, that's a sign to you, you know, you need to learn to do something different, right? You're not in the best state of mind, and you're not going to be achieving your goals. You're not going to be feeling happy and fulfilled. So take the PQ score quiz. That can change over time, each and every day, even based on what's recently happened and how you've been reacting to it. So you can take that from time to time. And then the saboteur assessment will tell you that, it will show you that chart that I showed on the slide. It will tell you your top saboteurs and the 0 to 10 scale that are negatively influencing you. And it will give a really good description of each of those saboteurs and how they particularly are influencing you, creating challenges and disruption in your life and for the people around you, so that you can be better aware of how to identify them and why you want to identify them. Because if not, they're going to continue to negatively impact you. So I highly recommend that you take the saboteur assessment, take the quiz. You can do that through the link there. And oh, it looks like I actually pulled up the old slides. So we don't have the QR code here, unfortunately.
We have it. Megan can show it real quick.
Okay, great. And then when you get the results, take some time to read the results and reflect on, how true you identify with the results that came up. They're not going to be 100%, but they're pretty darn close. And how your top saboteurs have impacted your work or your health or your relationships or all of them. And then here's my gift to you. Schedule a complimentary 30-minute review call with me so I can help you to clarify the results that you got. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Any ahas that you got out of that? I mean, I had so many ahas when I read my first report, and it, really helped me to identify where I was, why I was risk averse, why I was playing small in different areas of my life, why certain things, were not working out the way that I wanted, despite all these different, efforts that I was making towards it. It's like if we have our foot on the gas, but we also have our foot on the brake, we're not going to be getting very far. So instead of trying to put more foot on the gas, just release the brake. And that's what identifying and stopping the hijacking of the saboteurs is all about. So you can take the PQ assessment, and when you take the assessment, you'll get an email to my calendar where you can schedule the call, just the first 7 people. So I only have time because it's a 30-minute call to do 7 people. So the first 7 people that schedule on my calendar to do that review, I'll be happy to do that review with you. All right, so let me go ahead and end here. If there are any other questions, comments. And if not, if you can put up the QR code, that would be great. I'll stop my screen share.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lisa. This has been great. For all of you that are here, this is the way that we operate her C-suite. We do her C-suite with guest speakers at the caliber of Lisa every month in all of our circles, all of our leadership circles. And I know that Lori Wessels, one of our executive coaches, is here with us today. We have this level every month for the first 15 minutes, and then we follow it with experts. So I'm going to ask Megan just to go to the next slide, because I know we only have like 1 minute left. But if you have any questions about her C-suite, what we do, we advance women in executive mentorship or executive leadership circles every month with speakers like Lisa that come in for 15 minutes, facilitated conversations. It's only 1 hour a month, and you make amazing conversations and advance a lot of many of our members get promoted, they get new opportunities, they're landing board roles with our board program. So all of those things happen inside her C-suite. And I know that you asked if this video is going to be available. It is available to our members. So we have a value to our members who are here today and who weren't able to join us. It's in our library. So if you're interested, please reach out to me, Natalie, at her C-suite. We also have a QR code. We're big on the QR codes today. And we're so grateful. We know some of our members are here today with us. Some are new people. And so great to meet all of you, and so grateful to Lisa for being here. And I was doing all the stuff throughout the whole thing. I was standing in my power pose, full disclosure, while I was doing it. That's my other thing I do. But so great, Lisa, for you sharing all of this. I know everyone was getting so much out of it and thinking through the things that stop us, and keep shining your light out in the world. That's what we'd love to hear that you're doing. And if we can help you in any way, do that. Reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. So thank you, everyone, for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you again, Natalie. And thanks for monitoring the chat, Megan.
Yeah, it was great. And if anyone has a last question, you're welcome to ask. We got about 20 seconds left. So if anyone's I always like to start on time and end on time to be respectful of everyone's time. So if you have any questions.
And, if any questions come up later, you can always, message me, email me at lisa@themindtrainingcenter.com. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.